Woodhouse has been a trusted partner in your everyday since 1975. Shop for your next vehicle with a home team at Woodhouse and the official auto dealer of Nebraska Athletics. Kyle Crooks back with you on Sports Nightly. Very special guest here in studio. Always love the opportunity to get a chance to talk to University of Nebraska System President Dr. Jeffrey Gold. Dr. Gold, it's always great to see you. How are you?
I'm doing just great, thanks, and I'm glad to be with you.
Yeah, so it's great to always get a chance to catch up, and we've had some news on the athletics front, especially women's athletics, and Nebraska recently announcing the hiring of Liz Sowers, first coach for Nebraska flag football, also joined by her twin sister, Katie Sowers, as associate head coach. What are your thoughts on that historic announcement?
Well, I think historic is the word for it. It's great for women's sports here in Nebraska, of course, where I think we're becoming the world capital of women's sports in many different ways. Hiring the Sowers twins in these roles is critically important to getting the flag football team off the ground. As our listeners may know, that they have an incredible tradition of competition at the championship level. Together, they built a championship program at Ottawa University, which is actually not in Canada, it's in Kansas at the NAIA level. And Liz coached 5 consecutive national championship teams there. And both have had experience at national and international levels, defensive coordinator for USA women's national team, etc. All in all, just a great recruit and a lot of excitement for when the season's going to begin. I'm assuming it's going to be a huge amount of work to pull the team together and to really get them to the level of being competitive, but it's like everything else we do here in Husker Athletics. We do it right.
Yeah, and I know talking to Troy Dannon, he was fired up about that announcement. But switching gears a bit, previous Sports Nightly appearance, you did mention to listeners about the start of a search for a permanent University of Nebraska Medical Center Chancellor. Can you give us an update on where you're at in that process?
Sure. We're moving along at a really good clip. We've established a search advisory committee of about 20, 25 people who represent faculty, students, staffs, all of our other campus chancellors, community members, philanthropists, etc. They've completed a comprehensive position profile, which you and I would call a job description, so we know what we're looking for. And we're out canvassing for candidates. We're going to start off with a so-called internal search, and if that's not successful, we'll go to an external national search. I am very confident we'll find the right person, and then we ultimately, the way it runs is very similar to when I was recruited to be the president of the system. You come down to one priority candidate, and for 30 days you introduce that candidate to small and large communities across the state. They provide feedback. If the feedback is positive, that candidate is recommended to the Board of Regents. If the feedback shows any concerns whatsoever, then we go back to the drawing board and start again. But, off to the races, and I think we're in a really good place.
Yeah, no stone unturned for sure. And members of the university community recently joined together at the Nebraska State Capitol for an annual university-wide event, the I Love NU Advocacy Day. And what can you tell us about this event and why advocating for the university is so important?
Well, the I Love NU Day is a very important part of our annual schedule in every single legislative session, both long sessions and short sessions. It pulls together not only our very enthusiastic students, but our faculty, staff members, alumni, and others that are so involved in the legislative process. And it's an opportunity to literally go door knocking and for our students to meet with the 49 members of the unicameral legislature, their staff, and to express why they love NU and how important the University of Nebraska is to them as individuals, if they're students, to their academic journey, if they're faculty members doing research, to their research, and why the legislature needs to understand the critical value of the university to the state. And hopefully that results in favorable legislation, meaning funding.
And the university also, another exciting event coming up later this month, the investiture of UNK's Chancellor, Dr. Neil Schnorr. First of all, what is an investiture? I had to Google it last night. So what can the folks expect at this event?
Yeah, it's a fancy academic term that is really about bestowing the full academic title on somebody. So, for instance, on September 5th of 2024, I was invested as the 9th president of the university. So it's usually done in full academic regalia. It's somewhat ceremonial in nature. The process actually goes back to the Middle Ages. But it's also an opportunity to celebrate and to introduce individuals such as Chancellor Schnorr to the community. You know, it's certainly memorable. I have photo ops going back to some of my very first investitures as a dean of a medical school, which is now well more than 20 years ago. It's a commemorative moment for the campus as well to celebrate and to really move on. I think most large university systems do it routinely. I think it's a great thing to do. We're going to marry it up to some other visits when we're out in Kearney, so it'll be a multifactorial type of set of visits. And having said that, Neil has been in place now since as the chancellor since July of last year, and he is just, to use a sports metaphor, hitting the ball out of the park. And I know we're going to talk about baseball at some point, I'm sure, but he is hitting the ball out of the park. I mean, he is interacting well with our elected officials, both on the federal and on the state level, the alumni, the faculty, the staff, and of course the students love him. So, it'll be an honor to place the medallion around his shoulders and to bestow upon him the chancellorship of UNK.
And for those that may not know this about you, and you just have an incredible investment and love of athletics, especially here at Nebraska and all the teams, but specifically men's basketball and what they're about to embark on with March Madness, the Big Ten tournament. See you out at just about all the games. What's the excitement there, sort of the thoughts on the history that's been made here with Fred Hoiberg and his team?
Yeah, I would say on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm about 126 or something. I communicate with Fred after every game, frequently before the games. I am in awe of his coaching and the team that he has built. I've, as you said, I try very hard to be at almost all the home games. I'm super excited about the postseason and March Madness. My entire family is flying in for the, to be at the United Center in Chicago for the Big Ten tournament. And it just turns out, by total coincidence, my son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren live and then work in the Chicago area. So they're all going to join us to cheer the Huskers on.
That's fantastic. And before we started the recording, we just talked about how we have something in common. We're both Yankee fans. So we were talking about some of our favorite ballparks, Fenway, Wrigley, that you like the new Yankee Stadium. So we have that in common. I didn't know that till today. Well,
we do have that in common, and I'm really excited. Those of us who have been Yankee fans as long as I have, which goes back to when the dinosaurs ruled the earth, basically, we've learned to accept the year-over-year outcomes, and just like our Huskers fans, we always look forward to next year.
This is the year, Dr. Gold. Since 2009, of course, we haven't won the World Series, but this is
the year. I feel it.
Yeah, I could feel it. Always great to chat with you. Of course, University of Nebraska Assistant President, Dr. Jeffrey Gold. Thanks so much for coming in studio.
Always an honor.
Always appreciate Dr. Gold's time. We continue with more of Sports Nightly right after this.